Yeah, so I'm finally back home. Um, I did some venting, of course, with someone I trust dearly. Um, there've been folks that have been wearing the hat for comical purposes. The hat and the glasses for comical purposes to basically indirectly tell me about how I'm wasting my time. As if putting on glasses is something that I perceive makes a person smarter. I've had eye problems since I was 8 and 9. I got my first glasses when I was 9. So, I'm not a fan of glasses. That's why I don't wear them or don't like wearing them unless it's necessary. And when I'm working on the laptop, when I'm typing and so forth, it's necessary for me to see what's, the letters are small and so forth. So, it's one of those human innovations that helps a person see. And I put on my glasses and the hat. I really like the hat. I got it from a brother that was selling hats, and I bought one. It's just it had sentimental value to me. I liked it a lot, and that's why I wore the hat. And it was a salute to the guy as well, wearing the hat. Just because he was selling what he was selling on the street does not mean that he did not have a potential for greatness. And when you're an entrepreneur, these are one of the qualities that you have to possess. Being able to sell a product from the bottom up until you're selling at a large scale, or you're selling more products. That aside, there have been many more tales and assumptions. For example, starting when I was like maybe 13, 14, there I had problems with my blood pressure, and it got worse when I was around 19. And I'm speaking of a period when I was extremely fit. When I was playing rugby, I was extremely fit, but nonetheless I still had that. And the heart condition, and it's generic. It's rare, but it's generic. And the other stuff, like, why is he at a psychiatrist office? Is he crazy? If you want to view it like that, that's your opinion. In reality, it's again one of those things that you inherit. The thing is, the smarter you are, the more these things will weigh on you. And I'm not saying I'm smart, I'm just saying that there are people out there who experience this at a much greater level than myself. This is just a video I'm making to sort of just throw this junk out. Right, just to throw this junk out, because it doesn't faze me. The reality of things is reflection is very important. And as any other person, as I would reflect on life, I want to see what kind of a person I am. For some reason, I'm very selfless. I am extremely selfless, to the point where most people would assume it's destructive. But that's because I'm working on a lot of things, that require the selfless passion and sort of compassion for things. The selfish trait is something that's innate in human beings. But going through my experiences, I know where it does not fit, and that's where I sort of when was it, around 2012, meditated my way out of that. Because these things are think cars, watches, and sneakers, and phones, and all of that stuff. It's not really something that I would call any form of achievement. It's not. My failures I've accepted. That doesn't weigh on me. And the beautiful part is that I was able to interact with people that could see beyond and could see the real potential, whether I do or not. And that was very humbling to me. And that's how loyalty comes by, when you're shunned by the masses and a few come out and say no. Right? That's loyalty, that's trust, and that's quite important to me. Not a fool. I'm not a fool. If I'm being used, I would know. I mean, just consider it. Alright, just put everything together as it was, as it is, and then say, this person is being used or fooled. Is that really, is that really the conclusive answer that can be, put forward? No. There is a lot of, self-input for reasons which I believe in, because everything has a purpose, and I'm slightly analytical, so I always go to find that purpose and its meaning and the impact that it will have, in the long run. Like most other people, view their brothers and sisters and cousins and so forth as human beings. I view most people as human beings. That's just how I am. Nobody is more special than the other one because of their skin color. Nobody is more special than the other one because they are a bit smarter. In fact, they might not even be smarter. They might just work harder than the smart person who is unable to sort of achieve their brilliance due to circumstances that we might not know. I mean, we live in a world where we know that there's such a thing as mental illness, and mental illness is an impeding thing. It impedes a lot of people, and mental illness does not necessarily mean crazy. That is something that's just something that someone uninformed would assume. Overcoming these things is kind of hard, but they are overcome. And when they are overcome, what do? Do you go apologize after? No. There has to be a sort of investigative approach to how we view each other as individuals, and that's how I am. That's how I am. Today today was it was a funny day, and it was very very eye-opening for me, in terms of what people expect and what people should get, right? And this is the knowledge versus money thought that I have. So in society, people usually look up to the person with the most money and the most assets and such, and someone with knowledge is sort of like forced to attain more and more and more in order to be acknowledged. Now, money versus knowledge. You get knowledgeable people that have money, and you get knowledgeable people that understand that money is not the greatest accomplishment that you can have in life. It's a necessity. So, you look at these two, depending on who you are, and you decide what kind of a person someone is based on what they view is most important. Is it more important to gain profits and lay off employees, or to accept smaller profit and retain employees? That's the kind of that's kind of what I mean by knowledge. So attaining knowledge nowadays requires a lot of money. Alright, attaining knowledge, attaining information, being trained to retain knowledge, to have knowledge, the degree, the PhD, the certificates, and the diplomas and such. It costs money. Why would it cost money if it wasn't valuable? Right? So there is value in information. Hence, if you look at the world in general, universities have become even more expensive than they were before because of this realization. You would have a professor that wants more money at the end of the month because of the knowledge that they possess, because of that intellect that they have accumulated, that information that they have in their brain, that they sustain there. Right? So, knowledge, money. One arrow goes that side, one arrow goes that side, and they all come together. Knowledge and money. So, I'm just trying to emphasize or to make it clear on how important information is. There is no such thing as hogging information. What there is the inability for some to interpret certain information. Go throughout the world, there are not a lot of people that will interpret the math. And I'm talking about Isaac Newton, the man who invented calculus, that would actually be able to understand the deep information that he was able to create and accumulate over the timeline of his life, as well as Einstein. Einstein did not set out to prove Newton wrong. No, what he was trying to do is trying to attain greater knowledge, and he only got his accolades later in his life, way later in his life. I mean, he worked at a post office. And then when he's finished with the thing for inventions, I forget. Yeah, when he's finished with that, he would go back to his equations, and as time went by, and his equations started to grow and make sense, there was another mathematician who was competing against Einstein. Now the mathematician had an advantage in that he was a professional at math, and to get the answer that Einstein was after, he had to use his skill in math. I mean, Einstein got a Nobel Prize for his Brownian motion theory, not for the theory of general relativity. That just shows the competitiveness that the scholars, the professors, and all the like had about knowledge, about being the one that has the knowledge. But for us, now we get to it, for us, a developing country, right? A developing country, we are trying to attain knowledge, but we don't filter. We don't understand which knowledge is necessary for our development. For example, when you look at the West, and I always use America as an example. That will always be my example, because democracy. When you look at America right now, someone studying history almost has no place in the market. But when we look at Namibia, someone studying history has a place in the market, because the history that we have, the history that's being dug up, is not being dug up from a Namibian perspective. So there are some things that are obviously missing, because the folklore, the tales, and all of that stuff, it comes together, builds a story, and that story can lead to past events. We hear about how the Bantu migrated back to Southern Africa. Okay, what happened at the top for them to come back? The only way that we can understand this is if we investigate our history ourselves. So I say, young historians, come out, do your research. You are needed in this country. It helps with development. It really does, and it really will help with development. Interpreting the correct history to us, as well as local archaeologists. Namibia has the oldest desert in the world, people. That means there are lots of undug secrets there that someone can go dig up. Someone can have a significant finding in our desert, studying the nature of the Namib dunes, how they move, how the wind goes, and what is beneath. Namibians should have this mandate, but we are economical. Our brains are tuned to think of, how will I pay that next thing? When will I pay that next thing? I have this to pay, I have that to pay. And that is a hurdle that the government needs to overcome. That's where the government comes in. That's when the government comes in. The government has to subsidize for people in regards to that. Because a lot of people get doctorates for the sake of the title and not for scholarly purposes. That's why, like me, for example, MIT and Harvard and a lot of American universities have courseware that's actually free for the public, and you will get the lectures, you will get the notes, you will get the questions, and you can basically study. You can enrich yourself with knowledge, but that knowledge you have to come back and apply at home. The other thing that I was being told, when I say I'm preaching to the choir, is that you're not saying anything new. Most people know A, B, C, D, but there are people who do not. The thing about knowledge, the thing about information, is that it actually requires discipline. You learn discipline as you are learning. The type of discipline that you encompass might be different from the norm, and thus you will be judged an outcast. But this should not deter you. This should not deter you. We know what activists are. We know what activists are. We know what activists stand for. There is no society on this planet that can thrive without an activist or activism or activist. There isn't any. And in order for this to happen, fear had to be eliminated. Because a lot of activists, potential activists, were afraid to express themselves due to the backlash. Now, I say a lot of times I'm a man with nothing to lose. When I say I have nothing to lose, what I have learned here cannot be removed. And I'm not talking about behavior. No. I'm saying when someone teaches me something new, they have taught me something new. When I was taught how to drive, now I know how to drive. If I haven't driven in 5 years and you put me in a car, I will still be able to drive. That is the magnificence of our brain, of the human brain. That's what makes us the apex predator. Instead of fighting off the predators with our bare hands, now people have invented guns. And Africa is the core of knowledge. Hence, knowledge should be celebrated in Africa. Scholars, writers should be celebrated in Africa. Today I'm not just saying read. No. Today I'm saying express. And when you express, don't just express book knowledge. No. Articulate lively knowledge. Knowledge that goes along with what is being seen on the ground in this country. Properly articulated so that most people can understand it. Albert Einstein once said, if you cannot explain something to your grandmother, then you don't understand it. So can a lot of people explain things to their grandmothers? Now, do they understand it? This is the argument that I'm putting forward. The argument that I'm putting forward is, can we be spectacular Namibians? Can we be expressive Namibians? The land of the brave. Bravery does not only come with fist. Bravery can come nowadays in modern society in the form of the pen, in the form of the keyboard, in the form of the book. So when people are talking about desktop activist, what is the president? Does he not sit at his desk and go through everything that is being presented to him? What about the ministers? Do they not sit at their desk and wait to get everything that is presented to them? What about the deputies? The PSs, as I read in today's Namibian, the permanent secretaries do most of the work. I would rather say the permanent secretaries walk closer to the ground than the ones above them. And that's kind of tragic, because they are supposed to push the information up to the top. Instead, it's pushing information down to the bottom to try to manage the bottom. And we should not forget, the government is immortal. The state is immortal. Our country is immortal, but people are not. If I have sounded disrespectful, it was for a purpose. It was to reveal the humanity in people. Everybody cares about their significant other, about their fiancés, about their wives, about their children, about their grandchildren. Everybody lives. Everybody in office lives. And they have these priorities as well as the priorities of our country. So what should we do? Should we always wait for the trickle down, or should we show that we can trickle up? And I believe we can trickle up. Don't be afraid to ask. Let's work together. Let's brainstorm. This is the Namibian citizen. Right? We are Namibian citizens. It is our duty, it is our passion. I told someone I'm going overseas, that I would rather go overseas. No, I did not mean it. I just wanted to see loyalty. I just wanted to see truth for once. Because I know I am loyal to my country. I am loyal to my country. And no matter what, I am also loyal to my community. Hence, I don't care how I am perceived, because I am comfortable in this skin. I am comfortable with his voice. It has broken a few times, but it found its way to roar again. We are human beings. We are only here for a limited time, and then the next take over. Hence, what will they take over? What will we say we have accomplished on our own? On our own, we have accomplished. And then what have we left behind? Are we all working together? We need to work together. These are times of the global economy, and a united Namibia, a united front of Namibians will be able to defend itself, will be able to counter the global economy. And when Namibia has done that, then we can look across the borders, then we can look at the neighboring countries, then we can advise them based on our experiences. Because the Namibian story is unique. There is no story like the Namibian story on this planet. Nowhere. And I challenge anyone to prove me wrong. We can continue. Also, knowledge is power. Look at Robert Mugabe. How do you think he sustained power for that long, to the age where he's 90 something? People can laugh about him falling, but let them challenge him intellectually and practically on the foundation that he has built. Robert Mugabe is Zimbabwe. As a matter of fact, now Robert Mugabe is Africa, because he looked past. As a leader, you will hurt some people and you will rescue some people. He knows this. This is a man that was in prison for his country. He was in prison for a long time for his country. That's where he studied. That's where he got his degrees. No one can tell us that he does not have the experience needed by Africa. That is a lie. But he is doing for Zimbabwe. That is them. Let us do for Namibia. And I see a lot of voices and a lot of throats being cleared up. And people are starting to talk. People are starting to value their citizenship. I salute you. Because now we are the land of the brave.